Greetings and welcome to episode 155 of the Words About Gamescast, a weekly video game podcast for words about games. I am your host, Amy Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Keith Robinson, who's not wearing a hoodie for the first time ever because it's super warm this weekend.
Indeed, we have a time limit this episode, which is before our computer shut down and we spontaneously combust.
And we're not sure which is going to happen first. Yeah, it's bad, man. I don't like heat.
It's North of England. We really shouldn't be having, in April, days where it gets to 22 degrees.
Yeah.
But that's Easter weekend for some reason.
Yeah, that was this weekend. Just gone. Happy holidays. It's not really a holiday, but you know.
Ho, 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 mother.
But yeah, it's like, whatever, man. Like, fuck this shit. You try to do a 48-hour charity stream in the coldest month of the year, and it's the hottest day of the coldest month of the year. So, you know, go figure. And then someone keeps the heating on and tries to kill Keith.
Russell!
So let me go through this highlighted bit at the top of the document that we use, as I do every week. On the Words About Gamescast, we discuss 5 topics centered around what's been going on in gaming, the games industry, and gaming culture over the past 7 days, before we leave you with a list of games coming out this week. This week, we discuss the first official details of the PlayStation 5, Activision Blizzard's enviable tax rate, the main headlines from last week's Inside Xbox, the disaster that is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Stage Creator, and Amy Hennig's comments on single-player AAA games. As always, there are timestamps in the description below this video on YouTube, so you can skip around if you want. If you want to see specific things, if you want to watch the episode out of order. As Keith pointed out last week, if you want to watch it all backwards.
For some reason, you want to watch it in reverse order, which is different to backwards.
I mean, if you want to watch it backwards, I can't help you with that.
Yeah, there's some editing involved there, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if Premiere Pro has like a button that I can push that just flips the entire video, and then I'll just upload both. And then
leave me alone with Premiere Pro for like 50 minutes, and of the many videos that I will create, one of them will probably be backwards, whether there is a button or not.
This is true. Keith will find a way.
I might post it to someone else's channel, but
and it'll get posted somehow on like IGN.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck. My headphones.
Well-oiled machine, ladies and gentlemen. Well-oiled machine.
Damn fucking straight. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Keith, PlayStation 5 details. I took this from a story by Tom Phillips on Eurogamer, as opposed to the technical specification breakdown, or B, the incredibly lengthy, actual
interview.
Yeah.
If you see my eyes gloss over and me just kind of collapse off the chair, it might not be the heat. I don't do well with technical specifications in even the most general terms.
Oh, come on, man.
He did the book Russell for this. He goes for the tech specs.
There's no tech specs.
I see abbreviations and there's more than 3 in one sentence.
I mean, I don't know what you want from me. I really don't.
Lord.
Sony reveals first PlayStation 5 details. First details on PlayStation 5 have been unveiled by Sony via an exclusive wired interview with the console's chief architect, Mark Cerny. I believe it's Cerny. I hope it's Cerny. It's probably not Cerny now that I think about it. Perhaps most importantly, for PlayStation fans is the fact that PS5 will be backwards compatible with PS4 games. I guarantee that is not the most important thing on PlayStation fans' mind, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The current PlayStation VR headset will also be supported, and the next-gen console will still use physical media, Kearney confirmed. There's no release window yet, but Sony has ruled out a 2019 launch. Amongst the expected CPU and GPU updates, it'll be a 3rd gen AMD Ryzen with 8 cores and a custom Radeon Navi, even I don't know what a Radeon Navi is word it'll support ray tracing, which we're going to need to talk about at some point, a snazzy graphics technique, and 3D audio. It'll also include a solid-state drive for much faster loading, plus 8K graphical support. Not that many TVs yet exist for it. And that's about it for now. Sony has already said it will not be attending E3 this year, and Carney suggests to Wired we won't hear much about PlayStation 5 there. This is interesting. I know the specs and stuff are interesting. What I mean is, this is an interesting way to put out some information about the PS5. Actually, scratch that. This is an interesting way to put out the first information about the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Like, the timing was, of course, on the same day that Inside Xbox happened. We'll be talking about that later on in the show. But it's, I don't know, like, of all the ways that they could have done it, a trailer, a video, a PlayStation blog post, they were like, let's just sit someone from Wired down with Mark Cerny in a room with a dev kit. Seems strange. Keith gestured towards the camera for those that are listening and not watching.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were worried about leaks. Maybe they thought that this would be an excellent way of just getting some basic information out of there and sync the outside Xbox broadcast, because they, as I say, did it on the same day. I kind of scratched my head up most of the stuff in there. One of which being 8K TVs.
It's future proofing. To be honest, the Xbox One and the PS4 probably should have had 4K support originally, so they didn't have to release mid-generation updates.
Yeah.
Which seems to be what they're doing with the 8K support on the PS4. Like, no one's going to use it at first. Like, developers obviously aren't going to put in the extra time and energy to make a game 8K, except potentially Sony's first-party studios. And because, like, about 6 people own 8K TVs in the entire world. Like, so it's there for, like, in, like, 4 or 5 years when 8K TVs become a thing. You've got the PS4 or the PS5, and it just does it. Which is one of the bullet points there. The SSD is really cool. In the Wired article, they did the. I'm gonna have to move this. They did the. They did a comparison between a PS4 Pro and an Xbox. An Xbox? No, they didn't. Between a PS4 Pro and a PS5 dev kit. With a Spider-Man loading screen, where the loading screen on the PS4 was like 15 seconds, and the loading screen on the PS5 dev kit was 0.8 seconds. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Which means that if you play Anthem on a PS5, the loading screens will probably only be a couple of minutes, which would be nice.
Burn!
Ho!
Oh, I'm burning.
I'm on fire. It's happening. The spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully trust the 0.8 seconds because it's a dev kit.
And it's a PS4 game, not a PS5 game.
Yes. But that is a drastic reduction, and I would expect there to be, like, given the upgrade in hardware, for it to be a substantial reduction in the time. Mm-hmm. I would be surprised if you got, like, a PS5 and put that game in and you still got under a second for the load screen.
Again, on Spider-Man.
But I wouldn't expect anything like I would expect it to be a significant reduction, like
hugely significant. Jason Schreier was on Twitter talking about this reveal, and one of the things he'd heard that they were trying to push as a marketing thing was no more loading screens.
Yeah,
or like they were going to try, and I was like, I saw that after I'd read this, and I was like, that's a meme waiting to happen. Like, not, oh, that's really cool. It's not going to happen. So it's a meme waiting to happen, right?
Yeah.
It'll have a disk drive. Yeah, no shit. So will the next Xbox.
Yeah. I mean, I don't entirely rule out that Microsoft might try in doing a one. What I would expect maybe is they might release 2 Xbox, whatever the next one is. And have one without the disk drive and one with the disk drive.
Yeah.
But I would definitely assume that there'll at least be one even if it came up after the one without the disc drive in, that would have the disc drive in.
They'll basically, when they do their next generation console, whatever, there will be a console and it will have a disc drive. Because while we're moving towards an all digital future quite rapidly, they're not gonna abandon discs completely. Yeah. That would be mental.
Yeah. I mean, there's specific games you can only play now if you have the discs.
Indeed. I mean, that's not one of the reasons why. But yes, that is a good case for making sure we don't go towards an all-digital future. At least not right now, anyway. There was a Digital Foundry breakdown of the technical specifications, and it made my head hurt. So I was just looked at the numbers.
Yeah.
And compared those numbers to the Google Stadia numbers. You remember when we talked about Google Stadia? And they were boasting about how much faster it was than Xbox One and PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, yeah, but, I mean, there's new consoles coming, which will probably be much, much faster. Well, the PS5 hypothetical technical specifications are faster than the Google Stadia, which is what we expected.
Yeah.
And again, those are the Google Stadia's technical specifications, you know, in an ideal setting.
Yeah.
Where somebody's got Wi-Fi fast enough to use it.
Sitting in an internet cafe in Seoul, you mean?
Yeah, or sitting in Google, like in America, plugged directly into one of the servers. But all of this sounds really, really cool. But there is one thing which someone did follow up on, and multiple sources followed up on, and that's where we come to part 2. Sony wants PS5 price to be, quote, appealing to gamers in light of its advanced feature set, end quote. This is from Laura Kate Dale over at Kotaku, who writes, many of the technologies mentioned in the PS5 reveal are not even commonplace on highly expensive top-of-the-line gaming PCs yet let alone consoles, and the idea of Sony incorporating all of this high-end tech has caused many to worry the system is going to cost an arm and a leg. You may well remember the PS3's launch price turning many away from the console at launch. While not included in the initial Wired interview, reporter Peter Rubin, who was responsible for the report, elaborated on Twitter, sharing some pricing discussion which didn't make the final feature, but took place during the same interview. This is 2 tweets. I'm going to read them out. Rubin asked, there's always been a general range of launch pricing. Will the next console hew to that range? To which Kanye replied, I believe that we will be able to release it at a suggested retail price that will be appealing to gamers in light of its advanced feature set. Rubin also asked, meaning that it may cost a bit more, but what you're getting is well worth it? To which Kanye replied, that's all I can say about it. Reading between the lines, it sounds like the new console is likely to be a bit more pricey than the PS4 was at launch, but that Sony is counting on the tech included in the new console justifying that price increase. So then,
yeah,
we're in a bit of a situation here. Do you remember? Your eyes probably glazed over while I was reading it. In the previous news story, I said 2 words: ray tracing.
Yes.
Do you know what ray tracing is? I mean, I don't. I'm not going to try and explain it.
I mean, maybe the guy called Ray doing the tracing, but
it's. I mean. Not in this context. In this context, it's incredibly advanced lighting, from what I understand. Metro Exodus did some stuff with it on PC. It's from films. And how do I put this delicately? This technology is only available if you buy graphics cards in the thousands of dollars currently. So, knowing that, before I went into this article and read it for the very first time, you can imagine my surprise when Mark Hennig was talking about ray tracing on the PS5.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but graphics cards are, in the consumer world, having a price hike because of cryptocurrency.
Not at the moment, no. Prices are generally either, I don't know if they're back down to normal, but they're a lot.
Right.
Lower than when we were talking about it last year.
I was just wondering if you could reduce the price substantially by buying, like, in bulk specifically for the PlayStation as opposed to what we would be looking on the consumer.
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like
something like that.
Sony's
so I wondered if there would be a massive jump from that.
Sony's not going to pay as much for a graphics chip as you or I would.
Yeah.
That's obvious. However,
yeah,
when you're talking about like the GeForce Titan X cards,
Yeah.
just being able to start doing ray tracing now, and PS5 probably launching in 2020, like you say, year and a half from now,
Mhm.
and it's got an SSD in it, and it supports
Yeah.
8K.
Yeah. This does kind of sound expensive. I was trying to think because you had mentioned a suggested price of like, is it going to cost more than this in the notes? And I was like, well, what would that be? I mean, then I was like, wait, what's the PS Pro cost now, which is like 350 from a few different stores, and like in pounds. Then I tried to figure out what that was in US dollars, and got annoyed at the conversion thing on Google not helping. Uh, yeah,
PS4 cost $349 at launch,
$349.
and the Xbox One cost $449.
Right.
And that was considered really expensive, and it had the Kinect bundled into it, and
Yeah.
that was a whole thing. I spent £430 on Xbox One just after launch, and my PS4, I think it was £300, something along those lines. I also bought a Vita when I bought the PS5 before though, so like the whole thing, it cost me like 500 quid.
Yeah.
And I got no games with it. I spent the entire of the PS4 launch weekend playing the 2 free PS Plus games. Resogun in contrast, just in case anyone doesn't remember.
I remember.
Yes, Resogun actually was probably the best PS4 launch game, in fairness. Yeah, it's going to cost $500. I'll throw you in a PS3 this. Is what
This is where I figured this was going to come from, because that does sound like a lot of tech.
Yeah.
Because they're doing so well in the consoles, they could probably afford maybe to take a hit on the price of the items, but I don't think they will.
No, they won't sell this at a lot. They won't eat a lot. Sony probably can't as a company, not just like as PlayStation, which is super successful at the moment. But so was the PS2, and then that led into the PS3, and that led into them coming out on stage and being like, "It's $599," and everybody being like, "What the motherfucker?" As Keith might have said if he had been there at the time.
What the literal fuck?
Yeah. And PS3 launch was a disaster because it cost too much. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, Microsoft released the Xbox One X, which was £449 at launch. However, that was a much beefier version, a much beefier console than the PS4 Pro. It wasn't that much more expensive than it. Which is a side note from what I was going to say. However, they have a lot of subscription models in place that they didn't have in place when the Xbox One X came out that are proving to be quite popular, shall we say.
You mean get like free games for like $1 when you first sign up for like this subscription model? You can play all this back catalogue of games. Yeah, I've seen the ads.
Yeah.
I mean,
whereas Sony might not necessarily eat a loss on the PS5, Microsoft might be able to eat a bit. Not a lot, but they might be able to eat a little bit in lieu of getting people subscribed to Game Pass and Xbox Live. But people are going to subscribe to Xbox Live no matter what because multiplayer games. But then there's also xCloud, which will be a subscription-based service, I imagine, as well. Which we'll talk about in a bit. Sounds like it runs a bit easier than Google Stadia, but like I don't know, man. Like I like to be positive, miss positivity, not a pessimist, as much as I possibly can be. I don't know, Sony, they're saying a lot of the wrong things right now.
to be honest, if it turns out that this is going to be a late 2020 or even 2021 launch for the PlayStation 5, it might be a bit too early to swap around pricing.
I mean, we said that about VR, and we were all wrong about how expensive that was going to be. It's too early to talk about pricing. Pretty sure it'll be quite cheap. Nope, it was not. Not even the PSVR was that cheap. But
I never knew that cheap, but I was surprised by how much the PC models were going for.
Yeah, the PC models are nuts. Like, especially considering how far they dropped in price not that long after they came out. PSVR sold like 4 million units. Like, we stopped keeping track of it, but it came up in this in the Wired article. There's like 4 million units sold, which is really good. Which, just as an aside, yeah, this might cost a lot of money, and that alone could be potentially damaging for PlayStation. Outside of the fact that Xbox has got a shit ton of very consumer friendly features.
Yeah.
PlayStation doesn't have.
You don't think that like PlayStation may have gone overboard when Xbox came out and said world's most powerful console,
Potentially.
and just or do it to the max so that they have to like take off all that marketing.
I mean, yeah, well, I'd hope not, because that's a very short-sighted.
Yeah,
that would have been a very short-sighted marketing thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not the world's most powerful console right now. Yes, but we are the best-selling console of the current generation. Suck it. You know.
Yes, but we've sold more like.
No, I mean that would be.
Apart from in Dubai, because that's only people that can afford.
Yeah.
PlayStation 5.
17 people have bought PlayStation 5. So we knew we shouldn't. We knew it was going to be an exclusive thing when we announced that it was going to be cost $1,500.
Oh man. Oh, even if it went up to like the 700, they would die.
I mean,
Death.
400 plus is pushing it, I think. At this point, the problem was that they set the bar so low last time when they announced PS4 for $349. It's like, you know, you've got to be worried if it even goes beyond that, because then you've got to start justifying why it costs that much. And if your justifications are SSD, awesome, that's a good justification for anyone buying it. But if your other justifications are check out our 3D audio and our ray tracing and our 8K support, a lot of people are going to be like, well, I don't need any of that.
Yeah, it's like, how many games for your console use ray tracing? And if they've got like no launch games that include ray tracing, that's going to be quite hard. And 3D audio, like what they can do, like have assume a sacrifice is one of the like call out games with 3D audio. That would be horrifying. Really cool.
That would destroy me. That would break me. 3D audio would be cool in first-person shooters, compared to multiplayer, horror games, VR. It would be a big thing for VR because it would create that sense of presence, especially with the headset on. But, I mean, it'll be the Dolby Atmos style stuff, which is a big leap, but games already do 3D audio, so, like, how much better can the 3D audio be? And then how much more is it going to cost to put in there? I don't know. But the starting gun has been fired on terms of like details of these consoles. I said it on the predictions podcast. We always know a shit ton about all of these consoles before they're even revealed.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like we're going to know so much more in the next 6 months than Sony or Microsoft want us to know.
So the starting pistol's been fired, but is it going to be fired at their own head?
Potentially. Potentially. I think the only prediction that was made in terms of next generation consoles was that they would both not come out this year, or they come out next year. There was something like that. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Let's start about tax rates. It's fun, right? We have fun.
Yeah, I forgot about it.
Dad, don't worry. It's right here. I mean, excuse me, my throat's really dry today. It's the heat.
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard's effective tax rate was minus 51% in 2018. Minus 51%. Not 51%, minus.
Yeah,
Let me tell you how this works. Activision Blizzard was one of 60, and I pulled this from about 6 different sources, which is why I name a source.
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard was one of 60 US-based companies that paid no tax on its income in 2018, because all of its IP, like Call of Duty, technically belongs to a subsidiary in Netherlands, which is allegedly a basement with no employees. On top of that, Activision Blizzard got a tax rebate of, multiple tax rebates totaling $4.3 billion in 2018, creating an effective tax rate of minus 51%. Technically, if you're a tax-paying US citizen, you paid Activision Blizzard to make games last year. This closely follows the news that Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick is the most overpaid CEO in the games industry, earning 306 times more than the average Activision Blizzard employee, which was $28.6 million in 2018. And they also announced record revenue recently and responded by firing 800 employees. Those last two sentences aren't really part of the tax story. They're just both kind of funny in a terrible way.
The first thing I thought of, well, maybe not the first thing I thought of when I looked at this was, you've got to wonder how much of that 4.3 billion went to the accountant who figured this one out.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's like, get this. I figured out a way for us to pay no tax in America. That's brilliant, but it gets better. The American government will give us money.
We're still going to get tax rebates. How?
Technically, we don't own anything that we produce. Huh?
Yeah, no, technically it all belongs.
It's a wholly owned subsidiary in the Netherlands.
In this basement office where nobody works.
Yeah.
One's like Call of Duty and Candy Crush and Spyro. Crash Bandicoot. There's no Destiny 2 anymore, though. I don't really know what I wanted to say with this, other than the fact that I just wanted to point out that, like,
this is ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. Like, not only did they not pay tax, which is just, that's a thing, right? Like, big corporations just don't pay tax, which is shit, don't get me wrong.
I mean, there's a video going around social media at the moment about Google in our country, which kind of skipped off from paying like 1.4 million. And then it's like, you look at the 4.3 billion tax rebate that Activision got, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, they got a refund.
Wow. Like, I don't know what Google's doing in America, but yeah, Activision Blizzard was not the name I would have expected to see with such a massive amount.
They were at the top. So the report was, because they obviously, someone released a report where it was like, these 60 Fortune 500 companies paid zero tax.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was one thing. Amazon was on there, Netflix was on there, the usual sort of big corporation suspects were all on there. Mm-hmm. But then someone else was like, here's how much they got back. I don't know if it was the same article or if it was a different article, but basically they made a table of the companies and then said, here's their effective tax rates. And Activision Blizzard actually had the best effective tax rate out of all of the companies on the list.
At minus 51%.
At minus 51%. There were tons of companies that had minus percentages.
Yeah.
How
can you be making minus money and still function? I mean,
the minus 51. It's like one of those weird things where it's like the minus is actually a positive. It's like, because the tax rate, if a positive would be how much they paid, so a minus is because they got money back.
Yeah.
So their tax rate wasn't. It was.
And this way it's like, oh, we've overtaxed you so much, we've given you so much money back. It's like, we've had to give you back over half the money we took in tax from last year. How are you still afloat? Have you had to sell off a lot of stuff?
No, in fact, they had record revenues.
Yeah, you had record earnings, but yet we're having to give you back money in tax because you've apparently done so badly.
Yeah, we gave you all this money, but video games are expensive to make, right?
Yeah,
that's why we need season passes and microtransactions and DLC and cosmetic skins and loot boxes and apparently tax refunds for major AAA.
We still need to buy hundreds of staff at short notice.
Yeah, because we want to make sure we're profitable next year. I think you're going to be profitable next year. Something tells me if you're not only not paying your tax, but getting tax back on top of not paying it, you can be profitable. Especially considering you're going to make 2 games a year. One of which is a remaster. Because it's just Call of Duty and Spyro, or Call of Duty and Crash. The Crash Team Racing's coming out. There'll be a new Call of Duty. Destiny isn't an Activision thing anymore. they published Sekiro, but I don't know how much they actually spent on Sekiro's development. So weird, funny, but not funny. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You see an article like it, and you laugh, and then you're like, "Fuck, the world is." Yeah. To quote Giles, the Earth is doomed.
Yes.
Yes. Fucking Jesus. Anyway. Let's talk about the Inside Xbox main headlines. So there was an Inside Xbox. As happens with every Inside Xbox, it was announced. Everybody got set their expectations way too high, like hilariously too high for what they're going to see at an Inside Xbox.
Yeah.
And those of us with common sense expectations were like, that was pretty good. And it was pretty good. Phil turned up at one point. There was lots of stuff. There was like a Rage 2 gameplay demo. There was some other stuff. Ninja Gaiden 2 is going into backwards compatibility. The Fable games and Splinter Cell games are getting enhanced for One X, whatever. In terms of the information we care about, there was 4 bullet points. Let's discuss each one individually. So the first one, did you watch any of this? Did you see any of the trailers? So because I want to talk about one of the trailers, and it's actually this one. So the Xbox One S All Digital was announced, which launches May 7th. Comes bundled with Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 3, and Minecraft, and you can get 3 months of Game Pass for $1. It's discless, of course, and it costs $249, which is $50 less than the Xbox One S. So before we get into the details of what that is and whether it's cool or not, the video that came with this, it was incredibly sarcastic, and it was cheesy but really funny. Like, they was like, they wanted us to do this and we didn't know how to do it, and then like they figured it out because one artist was like had a revelation and ran across to the room to all of them, like the other office. I figured it out, and then there's a picture of the One S, and then she just clicks delete, and the disk drive just gets deleted, and then everybody's like, do that again. And they were talking about how, like, the development of this has been intense. We've lost people. And then we found them again playing Halo in one of the other rooms. It was really cool. I really liked it, but I like that kind of cheesy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Xbox One S All Digital. For starters, it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
I did see someone on Twitter suggest, why don't we just call it the Xbox One D? And I was like, you really don't see it? Like, let's not even go there with that name. But yeah, it's going to be $50 less than the Xbox One S always. So if the Xbox One S goes on sale, the One S Digital will go on sale, so it'll still be $50 cheaper. The biggest thing I saw, I mean, there's a lot of negativity in the chat of the stream that I was watching. For it. I wasn't watching the Xbox stream, I was watching a watch along by someone. It probably won't take a genius to know whose live stream I was in, but the negativity, the snark was blowing me out a bit. But the biggest thing about this was it's too expensive. $249 is too expensive. And I mean, the video showed, I mean, all they did was take the fucking disc drive out. Like, how much is a disc drive these days?
It's a Blu-ray drive.
Like $50? Like $50?
Yeah. I mean, I was expecting it to be like a bit cheaper. It doesn't come bundled with a load of games, and I think they would have to if they're going to charge that much for it.
Yeah, I mean, the bundling games things is what struck me as weird, because they bundled 3 games with it that are available on Game Pass, and they want to push people towards Game Pass, but also you get Minecraft and Sea of Thieves with it. I mean, Forza Horizon 3 is really neat here and all that. It's not even the newest Forza Horizon game, but like, it's easy to bundle that with anything. It's very strange. I don't know. That was a very strange move to me. Like, I would have pegged it as being $199 beforehand, like a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when they said $249, I was kind of like, yeah, all right. I mean, it's not egregious. It's not like, oh, it costs like $10 less than the One S. Then I would have been like, hold on a minute. I mean, they added a 1 terabyte hard drive. The hard drive is bigger.
Yeah,
Again, by necessity. Like, it needs to be bigger. But I mean, that would cost more money, right? So, like, it balances out with the removal of the disk drive because the rest of the Xbox is essentially the same.
Yeah.
So it's the same specs, the same power. It's the same form factor. I'm pretty sure it's just the same box.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, there is a disk drive in here.
Just, peel the sticker off the front of it. Hang on a minute.
Wait, they cheated themselves on that $50?
It's just been filled in. Like a landfill. Yeah. But, it's cool. I mean, like, it'll go down in price when the One S goes down in price, and which I thought was a nice touch. I don't know. I don't see the hate for it, personally. It's an option.
I think this is a good way for them to do the whole, like, going away from discs is making it an option.
Yeah.
Like, making two different things and making the ones without the disc drive cheaper. I mean, when it gets to the next generation of consoles, I'm not saying I'm going to get it at launch, but I am going to go for the one with the Blu-ray drive because I like watching things on my TV as opposed to my computer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'll have a disc, like, I'll buy the disc drive one because I rent a lot of games. And obviously, I can't do that on a all digital console.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of reasons to have it. But you've hit the nail on the head there. It's all about options, right? Yeah. This is what player choice actually looks like, as opposed to what they keep trying to tell us that it is. It's like when we were criticizing the Google Stadia reveal, where they were like, "This is the future of gaming, and it's not a box." And we were like, "Bullshit! The future of gaming is many different things." This is many different things. We've got the One X, which is the world's most powerful console. We've got the One S, which isn't, but has a disc drive, and now there's an option to buy an even cheaper console that doesn't have a disc drive. That's awesome. And they were never going to put out anything too expensive at the end of a console generation. So that's cool. Like, I know there were people talking about, like, I can get a used Xbox One S for cheaper than this. And I was like, well, yeah, it's second hand. Of course you can. And if that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yeah.
You'll be able to get used Xbox One S all digitals for even cheaper.
Yeah.
In a few months. Or a few months after it comes out. May 7th. Yeah. It's only a few weeks away.
Yeah.
The second bullet point. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is coming later this year, which will be $15 per month for Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold, and the separate services will still be available. They were very specific about pointing that out.
Yeah.
It's modular. It's choice. There's a theme running through Xbox as a company right now, and it seems to be based around choice. Do you want both? Yeah, have both for a little bit cheaper than you would be able to get separate. Like, I pay for both.
Yeah.
It cost me £16, but I imagine the ultimate subscription in the UK will probably be like less than £15. Will be like 1-to-1 translation. Do you just want to play Xbox Live Gold? Yeah, do it. Do you just want Game Pass? Do it. It's cool. It took them long enough. I'm surprised the Game Pass has been a thing for more than a year.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
This had to be one of the most requested things, like, as far as like their feedback goes. So I'm glad they've done it. The third bullet point. This is a good one. New Xbox studios will be showing stuff at E3, quote, that nobody has seen before, end quote. Remember those 10 studios Microsoft bought last year?
Yeah.
Some of them are going to be at E3. And they're going to be showing new stuff. Don't know who, don't know what. Could make speculation. It's been 3 years since Ninja Theory launched Hellblade. Just saying. Whereas you look at someone like Obsidian, who are making a game, like, not an Xbox exclusive, they're making the Outer Worlds, or Wilds, I can't remember which one it is. That RPG from the Fallout creators. So the chances of them showing off anything substantial at the Xbox's E3 thing are slim.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Ninja Theory could potentially show something quite easily because they've just been porting Hellblade for a while. So
yeah, they did eventually come up with the soundtrack, which I bought. and they've done it in VR, and they've done it on pretty much everything. If we find out they've been doing ray lighting in 3D audio and stuff.
3D binaural audio. I never play it. It'd break me as a person in half. Like,
I feel sometimes people exaggerate about how affecting it, like Hellblade is, but it was a really good game. But I do wonder if they've been doing a similar thing where they've been talking to people and it's like, okay, in a similar vein to games like Spec Ops: The Line and Hellblade: Season's Sacrifice. Wait, what?
Did you say Spec Ops?
Yeah. We're doing a Vietnam game.
Oh, Jesus.
Where you play as the Viet Cong.
Oh, Jesus. That would be amazing. I'd play
that would be amazing. It would not get a very high sales rating in America, though.
Probably not.
No.
Fucking hell. That would be fucking nuts. I'm not looking forward to E3, though. I did make a prediction that Xbox's conference would be a face-melting blockbuster event, so this bolsters that a little bit. I need it to be a face-melting blockbuster event.
Like, Phil Spencer just comes out, and then it's like, we've got so much to show you. They sort of giggles a bit, and then it's just a bit from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Like
Captain Holt.
He giggles like Captain Holt when he eats a marshmallow for the first time, and then his face melts off. And then everybody's like, oh my god. And then I'm like, does that count?
Russell's like, is this Devolver? And I'm just like, point for artistic merit.
But is Phil Spencer okay? Because it's like, is he okay? Just like tweeting, is Phil okay? That was VFX, right? Right?
Don't worry, it's a Thief 2000.
The last bullet point was a little tidbit. Phil Spencer revealed that he'd been playing Destiny 2, not a big surprise, while traveling, using an alpha build of Project xCloud on his phone. So, as it turns out, running Xbox Game Studios has its perks. Or running the entire Xbox division has its perks. And apparently, like, he just goes down to every time he's going somewhere, like if he's traveling, he just goes down to the xCloud offices and just gets the latest alpha build and they put it on his phone. And then he takes the Xbox controller and puts the thing on, and then he's just playing games on like planes and shit. Like, according to him, when he was talking about it, he's grinding out light level in Destiny 2, which is a thing I vaguely remember from playing it. But yeah, so like, I guess that means xCloud works.
At least on the sorts of phones you can get when you're CEO of Xbox.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. But then I suppose, like, if he's flying around in private jets, the Wi-Fi would be pretty good in a private jet. But what it means is it does work.
Yeah.
On Wi-Fi.
I'm now trying to think of how you get Wi-Fi in the jet.
Because
satellite?
Yeah, probably. There's a way. I don't understand technology. I just talk about it on the internet. But like, the fact that he's playing Destiny 2 as well. Like, yeah. I feel like he talked about that game specifically for a reason, because not only does that, like, is this proving that xCloud works, but he's also playing an online shooter on it. Yeah. So not like online for starters, it's a connected game, but also it's a fast-paced Twitch shooter. Right?
Yeah.
Input lag is important when playing Destiny 2.
I've been playing Overwatch lately, and I was like, why does feel so slow? And I'm like, wait, I've been recently playing Titanfall, which is definitely a Twitch shooter.
Yeah, Titanfall and Apex, then you go to Overwatch, and you're just like, why is it slow motion, guys? I think there's a bug. I found a bug.
It's like, why can't I sprint? Wait, that's because I'm playing Mercy. Right.
I'm trying to run up the wall. I'm trying to slide down a hill to jump and then hit the wall and then run and then grapple hook and then swing around it, and all I can do is, like, kind of zoop to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a while to remember how to do that. I haven't really figured it out on the fly, Mercy. It's possible, but I'm not really.
Step one is you need all the paddles on the back of an Xbox One Xbox Elite controller. Trust me. Like, unless you're incredibly mechanically gifted with, like, moving your thumb between the analog stick and the buttons.
Yeah. This is sound like wall riding this, Lucio, and this is a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Like, that's how I wall ride as Lucio. I use that. Like, I can't do it normally. Like, I can go one direction, but then if I need to change directions, forget about it. It's not happening. xCloud's cool. Anyway, we'll see how well it works when they reveal it properly at E3, I'm guessing. Should we move on?
Yeah.
The Super Smash Bros. Stage creator is exactly as much of a shitshow as you probably expected. That wasn't a headline of the story, but I'm going to read a story from Wesley and Poole over at Eurogamer. He writes, as expected, Nintendo is moving to delete what it deems inappropriate user-generated Super Smash Bros. Ultimate levels after the Stage Creator feature went live last week. Most of the content currently being hauled offline is as you'd expect. Soon after the Stage Creator feature went live, many stages featuring swastikas and other racist and offensive imagery were uploaded. There were also many penis stages, some of which ended up on the front page of the official Nintendo Switch app. But some of Nintendo's moderation decisions have caused a good deal of controversy. It appears stages either titled trans rights or featuring the trans flag run the risk of deletion, and in some cases their creators were issued short-term bans. Twitter user Warm Saflina received an email from Nintendo notifying her that her trans rights stage had been pulled offline for, quote, inappropriate and or harmful content, end quote. She said a Nintendo customer support rep later explained the level was removed because it was considered a political statement, and revealed her account was suspended for 9 hours. But Nintendo's moderation policy appears to be scattershot at best. While Warmth Saflina's stage was deleted, many other stages featuring the trans flag remain available to download and play. Thomas Marchant of Gamer Network has had a look at Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on Sunday morning and reports a search for trans returns between 70 and 80 trans rights stages online. Quote, I searched Dick and there were... Sorry, let me try that again. I searched Dick and there are some, but it looks like they've been removing them, but I could still see the one tied to my account and was able to re-download it. Context. One of the guys at Eurogamer created a Dick stage just to see what would happen. That's why there was one tied to his account. Just point that out. Continuing the quote, didn't find any for Nazi swastika type stuff. There was one of 2 people having sex on the main screen. I went back to the home screen and found Ugan and Knuckles and Pepe as well. There's more appearing all the time, it seems, and they're not all new or anything. So, here's my first question for you, Keith. How did Nintendo not see this coming? In regards to the dicks and the swastikas and racism.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that there was an entire game. Was it called Lego? Well, it was a Lego game where they tried to moderate it. This was a couple of years ago.
Lego Worlds, I think. I remember Russell was talking about it on a podcast years ago.
And they had to shut it down because no matter how many moderators they had, the sheer amount of inappropriate content being put on, they could never guarantee it's like the PG 7 that they were aiming for because of the user generated content.
Yeah.
And they had to shut it down, which is sad and says a lot about the world.
So does this. Sorry, that's why I kept rolling my eyes while I was reading it. It's like swastikas, racist and offensive imagery, dicks everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Super Smash Bros. Just became Twitter. Like, how did Nintendo not think this was going to happen? It's like, I don't understand how there's that disconnect of, we're going to make user-generated content. Cool. In our video game. Okay. And we're not going to moderate it before, like, we're not going to have like a pre-moderation thing where you upload a level and someone looks at it and then they go, no, that's got a dick in it. We're not going to do that. They just like let it go on.
Yeah.
And then they react to it.
Yeah. If Steam is, if Valve has taught us anything, it's that reacting to stuff that goes on your system is not a good idea.
It isn't, no. Especially Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the best-selling Switch.
Yeah.
On a console that is selling incredibly well. There's a lot of users out there, and a lot of gamers are shit. Not a lot. Not even the majority. A small minority of gamers are shit. Unfortunately, a small minority is still a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them probably play Smash Brothers, and a lot of them are uploading shit onto the Super Smash Brothers level creator.
Yeah.
But here's my follow-up question. Based on what I've just said about how popular Smash Brothers is, like, how does Nintendo even moderate something like this? Like, you just brought up Lego Worlds there, and it's like, well, the sheer amount of things that are going on it. Like, how many people do you need to moderate this?
I mean, the number should decrease as they get a little older, but you're still going to need a lot of people to keep on top of this. It might be better if they change their policy slightly.
Maybe.
And go, it has to be approved to go up.
Especially in light of the other thing as well. But yeah, no, like, because that would be my thing of everything has to go for approval.
Yeah.
Because gamers are shit. But, like, it's a lot that someone's going to have to go through. Multiple teams of people are going to have to go through to, like, to find it. And they've got Super Mario Maker 2 coming out in, like, 2 months.
Indeed.
Which was the other thing.
It just doesn't suggest, like warning signs going off the Nintendo HQ.
Yeah. Like, I don't remember this being a massively prevalent issue in the first one. At least not about the dicks. I'm pretty sure there was loads of dicks in Mario Maker.
Yeah.
But then the Wii U sold considerably less consoles than the Switch has already sold.
Yeah.
And Mario Maker was definitely not the most popular game on that platform.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also I only played it for like a few weeks. It's fucking awesome though. And things have just gotten worse in general. I feel like since Mario Maker came out, like 3 or 4 years ago. And then there was the other part of the story, which was the trans rights level that got removed from Super Smash Bros. Almost level creator, and the account got banned for 9 hours, which was upheld after they talked to customer services. Like, what the fuck? Like, Nintendo are obviously pulling the same line of Ubisoft, because I feel like we're going to talk over a lot of the same talking points we've already talked over when we talked about the Division 2.
Yeah.
Being apolitical, and it's like, you can't be apolitical if you remove this stage from your game. You're making a statement. That statement is not the one you probably intended to make, but that's the statement you just made, nonetheless. Especially when it was banned. Although the customer service rep clarified that it was because it was a political message, which, you know, the existence of trans people, not political at all. The original ban that came through is for inappropriate or harmful content. So which one is it? Is that inappropriate or is that harmful in some way? And again, I'm not asking you, and I'm not going to answer that as well. It's Nintendo that have inadvertently said it.
Yeah.
It's bollocks. It's the same thing with the whole LGBT as a profanity when you're creating a clan in the Division 2. It's stupidity.
Yeah.
And whatever you think you're doing by avoiding that thing, you're not. You're doing the opposite. I guarantee it. Like how this one even got moderated out and a bunch of other ones didn't, I don't know. What's scary is this could have just been a bunch of trolls decided to mass report a specific stage.
Yeah.
And if it's worked, then they can just do it to whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. Because they're trolls. And they don't have anything better to do at that time, apparently. So it's a precedent has been set. And we'll see what happens after this. I'm thinking the level creator in Smash Bros. Ultimate might have been a bad idea.
I'm just wondering, like, when I was thinking about this, like, how many Bowsette levels are there?
I don't know. You've got the game. You could always search it.
I'm not turning another electrical appliance on in this room at the moment.
Not right now. I mean, afterwards. tweet me. Oh, yeah. So I'm starting to get tired of shit like the like this. Between the Division 2 and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it's like, what's going to happen next month? Like, it's very tiring, but yeah, well, we'll see, won't we? Let's move on. Everybody's favourite gaming storyteller has been talking again, which is good. It's good when she talks. Amy Hennig says... Amy Hennig, it's hard not to. Amy Hennig says, AAA industry is at an interesting crossroads with storytelling. So this is from Matthew Handrahan from GamesIndustry.biz, did a big interview with Amy Hennig. I believe at GDC, I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, I took 2 sections of this to read out so we could discuss some stuff. And I'm going to read it right now. Quote. I didn't like, no, I'm not reading the full story, it was huge. Quote, a lot of where we're at now in terms of scope and complexity and cost is sort of self-inflicted, Hennig said. We've changed from intentionally creating these finite experiences to creating experiences that just don't end. That's very hard for me as a storyteller. It's a very weird place to be, because story, for me, is by definition finite and intentionally authored. It's not something that just happens through a series of events that unspool procedurally. It has landmarks and a deliberate end. We're in a world where we're not even making finite games, and when we are, they're 20, 40, or 100 hours, and the common wisdom is that most players don't finish them. We have these statistics inside the industry. Some publishers, they realise that 10% of their audience is going to see the entire story, and that's upsetting. That was the first part. I'll read the second part. I jumped ahead a bit. Which is, quote, I'm finding the greatest reward in playing games from that space, which is referring to indie games. Even though I'm absolutely dumbstruck with admiration at the big games that have been winning awards this year. God of War and Spider-Man and Red Dead 2. I'm full of admiration for them, but there's also this sense of regret that I know I'll never get to experience them fully. And then as a creator, I think about how that would make me feel. End quote. In that sense, Hennig argued, the industry's biggest publishers are increasingly out of step with major companies and other screen-based media. In television, platforms like Netflix have effectively removed the factors that once limited episodes to 25-minute and 45-minute lengths. And yet creators and consumers continue to embrace them. Quote, partly because that's what we're used to, but also because that's what's digestible. That's how Uncharted was structured. Each of those chapters was about the size, and I don't think it was exactly the intention. It was more of a gut instinct as writers of about half an hour of television or about an hour of television. There was an opportunity for the player to go, okay, that's good, more tomorrow, or one more. Nobody in television is creating something and going, open wide, here's 10 hours of television, because the viewer might go, I can't. But in games, we're saying, you got to play Red Dead, it gets really good about 30 hours in. You hear that, and don't you just die inside? I don't have 30 hours, end quote. I decided to add a bit of flair to that, because I was imagining, imagine if the Discovery finale was 10 hours long, and you were just like, what the shit? Ah! It's basically what she's getting at there. We've had this discussion a few times on the podcast. Yeah. Amy's brought it up again, so I was like, fuck it.
We did a lot of maths last episode, if you remember. When there was someone saying, in your game you put 300 hours on.
I put 300 hours into each one of my games. That's not physically possible. But,
unless you're playing, one game a year.
Yeah, unless you own, one game. Because that's the crux of it, right? Putting Red Dead aside for now, because it wasn't a game I clicked with massively. So I never finished that because I didn't click with it. And we'll talk about that, about the things she said at the end in a bit. But I think of God of War. And God of War was my game of the year last year. I fucking loved it. But there was so much of that game I didn't experience because it's so much of that game. Outside of the main quest line, where you go and you explore the different hub areas and you explore the world and you find all of the other things, and there's probably lots of really cool content in there, but there's so much of it I just can't even going to something like The Witcher 3, which had some of the best side quests in fucking RPGs ever, but there's so much of that game I just couldn't do.
Yeah,
because there's fucking hundreds of hours worth of content in there. And that's not even me speaking as a game critic. as someone who needs to move on from game to game to game to game. I put fucking 60 hours into The Witcher 3. Like, if there's a game that demands my attention in that way, I will find a way to play it. But at the same time, it's like, I'm speaking as someone who plays games, as in I don't have the 150 hours necessary to find all of the cool stuff in The Witcher 3. Or even like the 40 hours. These are just ballparks. Or even like the 40 hours that it would take me to find all of the good stuff in God of War. Like, and I try to think how much stuff there is in Red Dead 2 if it doesn't get good until 30 hours in. Which is probably just an estimate, but I've heard there is like a bit where it's like it gets better. Final Fantasy 13 style. Like, which is further. But I don't know, man. It's just like these games do feel like they're getting bloated and stretched, and it's stretching like the stories out, and not all of them are going to be a Persona 5 or a Witcher 3 where I'm happy I'm spending that much time playing it. I didn't finish Persona 5. It's too long for me to sit down and play for that length of time. Like, I think about how much I would have to ignore to get it done, and I've tried twice like to sit down and play. I've took a decent chunk out of it when it came out, like 50 hours, and then I took like another like 20 hours out of it recently, and I'm not finished. I'm not even close. That's fucking mental when you actually think about it. 70 hours I put into that game, and I'm not even close to like being able to say it. I've experienced the whole story. Sorry, you can go now.
It's alright, you kind of froze for a second, so I was concerned, but that was it. I can see your eyes move.
Shit.
This isn't the end of Police Squad.
Everybody go watch Police Squad. It's on YouTube. There's only 6 episodes. It's amazing. Anyway, games do feel really stretched these days. Like, even the stories feel really stretched now. Like, I remember I was playing... This is not one of the games I was taught. This isn't even a game that was stretched. But I remember I was playing Darksiders 2 when it first came out. And I remember it was like the quest structure in that game was laughable. It was a great game. What I mean by laughable was you would be some dude, wizard dude, would be like, you need to go and get this MacGuffin, and you'd be like, all right, cool. So you go and get it, and you get the place, and then you'd get there, and then a magic door would be like, yeah, cool, I've got the MacGuffin here, but what I need you to do first is I need you to do these 3 things, and then you'd be like, all right, fine, I need the MacGuffin. I'll go and do these 3 things. You get to the first one, and then you get there, and a tree is all like, okay, cool, you need to do this thing so that you can do this thing to do the other 2 things to get the MacGuffin. But while I've got you here, you just need to do these 3 things for... And then I'm like, what's happening? Where am I?
That's a branch... That's a quest tree as opposed to a quest line.
This is what I'm talking about, though. Like Darksiders 2 was released at a time when you had things like Uncharted and games that were linear. Like, you could sit down and there was a game and it told its story, and it was like 8 or 9 hours or 10 hours long, and it was like, cool, I've played that and I experienced the story, and it was great, and it was well paced, and now it's done. And then more games now are like Darksiders where it's just like, fuck me, there's so much to do. There's like so much to do in this game, not in terms of like side content, just fucking hell. This story is long. I've got to do this, and then to do this, I've got to do this, and then to do that, I've got to do... And then at a certain point, I'm like, I've forgotten a bunch of stuff from the story I'm playing. And I'm like, shit, why did I care about that again? Because the thing was like 20 hours ago. I don't know. I'm just, spitballing based on all of the words I just read from Amy Hennig. What's your take, co-host?
We keep hearing about how, like... Possibly made me headache about, like, it's like, oh, people are saying that, like, single player games are dead, and then they do.
Sick of hearing that.
Yeah, and then we get the, like, fallback, like, oh, people are buying these games and stuff, and we do keep hearing about the industry's changed. It has changed because they want the game to go on
forever.
Live service.
If you played a live service game that's had a story, you would sit down and go, that was awesome. Because I think I just thought about it there when you said live service, and I was like, I was going through them, like Destiny, Destiny 2, Anthem, Division, Division 2. And I'm like, none of those stories were like. I'd only categorize one of them as good.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you define live service, Titanfall 2.
Titanfall 2 had a separate story campaign that proves the other point. It was 4 hours long. It was self-contained. It was really well paced. It was small. It was easily digestible.
Yeah.
Like when you were doing it for the charity stream, you started it. I went to sleep, and when I woke up, you finished it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm talking about. Though. Like you don't really get stuff like that's becoming increasingly more rare in the AAA space, and even like games like. One of the examples in the full article was Uncharted 4 and how it was like so much bigger than the first 3 Uncharted's. And in a way, it's where the industry's going in terms of its single-player AAA games. Like, I'm expecting Jedi Fallen Order to be this other huge, expansive game, and it's just like my patience wears out if I've talked. How many times have I talked about it? If I feel like a game's wasting my time for the sake of it, I start getting frustrated. Like Anthem.
This quest, the legendary whatever, dude.
Yeah, it's like when I can see the gears or moving, and I'm like, okay, you're just padding time out now. Like, you just stop it. Because I want to experience an awesome story, or like, it sends you off on these different rabbit holes. And then I think back to even the games I would think, even God of War, which is again Game of the Year 2018, fight me, was I look back and I'm like, I do not remember a lot of the stuff that happened in that story. It was my favorite story of 2018. I can tell you about some of the most memorable and awesome moments of the story. I'm not going to because spoilers. But at the same time, there was lots of stuff in there I was like, I don't remember how I got from point A to point C. I remember point A and I remember point C. But everything else in between, I'm just like, I don't remember. Like, how I got here. And I only played it a year ago. I remember throwing my axe at a lot of stuff. That was fun. But I think a lot of the story in God of War was quite stretched. I think a lot of stories and a lot of single player AAA games are really stretched these days. And yeah, like 10%, around 10% of people finish games, like on an average, as a statistic, like, and then yeah, that's probably about right, I'll be honest. Like, taking out all of the endless games that you can't finish, like just ones that have a beginning, middle, and end and a story. It's like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But then I think about it, like, I mean, we say it all the time when we're talking about live service games. Time is finite, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why a lot of these live service games coming out all at once is a bad move. Because people can only spend time playing 1 or 2 or 3 of them at most.
Yes, saturated market.
But then I think about the same thing with these story-driven games, and it's like, time is finite. You only have so much time to put into these games, and unlike whatever people will say on Twitter, we don't all put 300 hours into every game that we own.
Yeah.
Because again, that's not physically possible. But I can count on one hand the number of games I've played more than 100 hours of.
Final Fantasy 7?
That is one of them. That is one of them. I mean, even to do all this stuff in there, it would take you, without a guide, a million years. With a guide, I don't know, like 30, 40 hours. I mean, it was a very obtuse game with some very strange secrets hidden.
Yeah. There's a material there which you have to go use the right selection of screens in a Blizzard to find, and there's no marker or indicator of it.
And the map's useless because it doesn't tell you where you. It doesn't show you track where you are, which is one thing, but it also doesn't show you where you entered, and you could have landed in any one of 4 places depending on which paths you took on the snowboarding minigame. But game design in the 90s was weird. Yeah, I don't know. Like, do you have anything to throw in there, like about this?
Not really. I mean, I feel that it's just something that we have to accept about the industry at the moment is they're going to try and get as much money out of every game by making it a live service game with multiple microtransactions. This is the model that they're thrusting on us, and we can only vote with our feet, really.
I know, wallets.
Kind of what I meant.
I know. Well, you could take voting with your feet to say we could just walk away. Or you could also be like, yeah, we could vote with our feet by kicking them in the face! Riot! Bah! And then you, like, kick your ear down the infinite pit in Sparta. I don't know why EA, probably because we were just talking about Anthem and Titanfall and Apex and Jedi.
Yeah.
But when Activision Blizzard, we've just had this massive negative news story about, but yeah, kick them all down a bit. I mean, on the other hand, like, even Amy Hennig herself does say, like, indie games exist that do these things in finite, small spaces. And I'm looking at a list of the indie games that I played. It's like, yeah, there's some really good story-driven indie games came out this year. So, you know, go play indie games. Oh, and if anyone tells you that a game gets good 30 hours in, don't play it.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth it.
Yeah, because there's a good chance that you may not like playing those 30 hours. And you might not like it after those 30 hours.
I was going to say, you might not like it after the 30 hours, and then you'll feel like a mug.
Yeah. I mean, it's like someone saying to me, goes, okay, he's kind of hot off. Like, starts it was really hard if you start from the beginning, but after 100 hours.
I've already, at this point, if Russell was saying
that... your way to the part of someone who's only spent like 100 or 200 quid on
it. At this point, because I imagine Russell will be saying that to us at some point, and we'll sit down face to face. And if, like let's say we were having a conversation about Star Citizen in 2052 when it finally comes out, and he was like, "Oh yeah, after the first 100 hours, though, like once you're really into it, as soon as the words first 100 hours come out of his mouth, I don't know what you'd be doing, but I'd have already stood up off the sofa and walked away shaking my head going, nope, not happening." Like, that's a separate conversation, like, which could be much longer, but yeah, it's just like a game gets good after a certain amount of time. Newsflash, I'm not going to spend that much time playing it. Like, if hypothetical X game was like, oh, it gets good after the first 10 hours, you just got to stick it out for the first 10 hours, I'd be like, oh, thanks, I'll just play Resident Evil 2 again, because I enjoy that right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not so keen on the big. 10 minutes in, it gets pretty good. After the gas station. That fucking first zombie, man. I could never run past him. I always get bit.
I've only done that bit once because you don't really fight the zombie in the B scenario. I've only done 1A and 1B.
Yeah, it's like where you run past to get the key and come back round.
Yeah.
Like, there's a route you can take where you just go past him, but I always fuck it up. I've been doing speedruns with the rocket launcher for fun recently.
I noticed that there was some specifically quick times on you.
1 hour, 10 minutes. I mean, to be fair, I play on Xbox, so the knife strats are out. Like, speedrunning strats are completely different because you can't turn it up to 120 FPS. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. I'm interested to see what Amy Hennig does next as well, because she's an independent game developer with her own game studio now. And she's
now I have my own game studio.
She'd probably make a live service game. Why?
It makes a game called Live Service.
If Amy Hennig made a game called Live Service and made the first live service game with an awesome story, you would just be like, that would be an amazing, like, twist to this entire thing.
I would just love it if it was just like a 3-hour like for a 3-hour indie game we just called Live. To
be remember when Destiny was revealed, and it was meant to be like one of the best features about Destiny was supposedly like they would keep adding new bits of story to it as time went on. And then everybody was like, "Oh wow!" Like, so the story will evolve, like over like months and yet, and then it never happened. And then no live service game has done this yet. Like, they had expansions, but they're just expansion packs.
Yeah, it added bits of DLC and stuff, which were just the occasional listen stuff, and you had to pay for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like, I remember there were so many cool setups in Destiny 2 where I was like, this would be really awesome. Like, there was that one mission where you go and you try and find the Rasputin. Oh no, there was the one mission where there was the weird music that was messing with people's heads, and I was like, this is a really cool setup for a future story that will probably never, like, if they just released an episode which was just like a follow-up to that.
It was the Vex were acting strangely because of this bit of music, and it was, I don't know, suggested it was one of the war mines.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever followed up on it in like a DLC or something. I think there was a war mine focused DLC.
Mm-hmm.
But
the Vex focused one. But yeah.
There's so many cool places you could take storytelling in live service games, and they just settled for loot. Like, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, Destiny 2 is cool and The Division 2 is cool, but at the same time, it's kind of disappointing that they just settled on having loot as the only storytelling mechanic.
Yeah, it's part of like the human like it or something to like acquire things, and they just hooked into that to get people to keep playing.
The lowest common denominator, the easiest thing to do, which makes sense because that's the way AAA games works. But it would have been nice if someone pushes the boat out a bit and actually like tries to like have an evolving storyline going on through a live service game. Maybe one day. Anyone is free to take that idea, by the way. I won't sue. Keith, there are games out this week. There are 8 games out this week, which is very easy to split in half. Yeah. You take the first one.
Mortal Kombat!
I knew you were going to do that. That's why I said you take the first one.
On PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, so pretty much everything. And it comes on April the 23rd. What else comes out on the 23rd on the Switch is Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. On the 25th, we have 2 different games. Another Dark game. This one is Dark Devotion on the PC. We also have SteamWorld Quest, Hand of Gilgamesh. Is that Gilgamesh or Gilgamesh?
I think it's Gilgamesh. I think it's might be Gilgamesh.
Yeah. Hand of Gilgamesh on the Switch on April 25th.
On April 26th. We have Days Gone coming out on PS4. I am the only person in the world who seems hyped for this game, but I'm hyped for this game. Also on April 26th, exclusively on Switch, we have Box Boy and Box Girl. On April 30th, Final Fantasy XII is coming out on Xbox One and Switch. And Fate Silence is officially launching, so I guess it's in early access. And that's going to be on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Okay, let's get the fuck out of here. Overwatch League's on. It's really warm. I need a drink. Cool off a bit. Find myself down.
Yeah.
Anyway, say bye.
Bye.
See ya.